G'day humans, Chris Stead here. Today I'm reviewing the Hubbl Puck streaming TV box from Foxtel, or at least the team behind Foxtel. Now this box here is something that I found to be on paper to be this really great idea, but as I'll go through in this review, it's not quite executed up to the potential that it has, which makes it quite an interesting device. Now this is it right here. As you can see, just see underneath the TV, this is the UI interface that's going on. If you've been watching my channel, you'll have seen I put up a fair bit of content about this already. I have been following it since it was announced and launched and had some early time with it. So I've been using it quite a bit. And I'm gonna go through my pros and cons in this video. Now, it's about the same footprint as, it's a little bit smaller than an Apple TV box. Kind of similar to an Amazon Fire Stick box. And at $99, it's pretty well priced compared to those, because it does offer 4K, it does offer HDR10+, it does offer Dolby Vision, it does offer Dolby Atmos. So it kind of has all that, I guess, high-end streaming capabilities. But it's about $20. I had a quick look just before I started this video about how much these things were going for. It's about 20 bucks more than the Amazon Fire Stick 4K, but it's a fair bit cheaper, like more than half the price of the Apple TV 4K, and a fair bit cheaper again than, say, the Nvidia Shield. But it does have this kind of point of difference. It's got like 4 kind of key points of difference. And the number one is that it kind of integrates live TV and on-demand TV into the one UI experience. And it's really cool. So that is definitely, it's a big point of difference. The second thing is that it kind of integrates the Stream Motion apps kind of into the experience. So they're not even Stream Motion anymore. Stream Motion is now called Hubbl. Now Stream Motion is the company that you would know from KO Sports, Binge, Flash, and the new lifestyle apps. So they're basically like taken the Foxtel, like parts of the Foxtel experience, and segregated them off into bespoke apps that speak to a certain type of demographic and audience. They were run by a company called Stream Motion. And now Stream Motion has become Hubbl. And these are kind of integrated into the UI experience. So that's kind of another big point of difference. It's also kind of integrating kind of sport and on-demand TV in a really interesting way that we haven't seen before. So you can have your sport and your free-to-air TV and your on-demand TV kind of in the one UI experience, which is really good as well. In theory, but I'll go through some of the problems, that the kind of the teething issues, I guess you could say, that they're having with this. And the other point of difference is that you can bundle and save. Now this is particularly intriguing, and as I'll go through again, like my general feedback on this Hubbl device is going to be that the potential is really great, but the execution at this point isn't quite up to what its potential is. And the bundle and save part of it is potentially the killer app feature, and it's still kind of cool right now, but I'll go into it a bit more, but that's not the big point of difference. All right, so let's talk about some of the pros, what I'm liking about the Hubbl TV and things that I think that you'll like about it. Now, as I said, like, it's a quite small footprint. It's a well-made device. I mean, it's not a whole lot to it. It's obviously just this little square. It's not much bigger than, you know, your hand. It's definitely not as big as your hand. And it's got a terrestrial TV aerial in the back of it. So you can just plug in your aerial like you always would. You don't have to use the internet with this thing. Otherwise, it obviously just connects through Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi 6, unfortunately, it's not Wi-Fi 6E, and it's not Wi-Fi 7, which is where we're kind of going. In fact, I'm getting a Wi-Fi 7 router set to you next week to review. So we're right on the cusp of going to Wi-Fi 7. So it's a bit, I guess, not future-proofed in that regard, but Wi-Fi 6 is still probably going to be enough for most of us, but it does have an Ethernet port in the back, HDMI out as well, no optical digital out. It's just all kind of going to run through your TV and then go through either your EARC through to your soundbar or through to a Bluetooth headset that you can connect to your TV if your TV allows that. Now I should point out, and I didn't do this at the start, actually that was a bit of a mistake, but this is the Hubbl Puck. There is a Hubbl Glass TV as well. Now the UI, most of what I'm reviewing right now is going to be the same between both devices, because they all use the exact same UI and even the exact same remote effectively, just different colors. But the Hubbl Glass is basically, if you either don't have a TV or you're looking to upgrade your TV, and you can get it with the Hubbl system inbuilt, so you don't need this. It's in the actual TV, and the TV also comes with a soundbar built in. Pretty decent soundbar actually. and 4K and at 65 or 55 inches. Interestingly, on the spec sheet they sent me there was a 45 inch as well, but that's not actually been released as far as I'm aware in Australia, so I don't know if that's coming later. But so a lot of this review you can probably transfer across to the Hubbl glass as well. However, I will do a separate Hubbl glass review because I do have it. It only just arrived and I haven't had time to really sink in and sit there and experience it yet. So I didn't want to shoot from the hip without getting some proper hands-on with that. But the UI is really what you're coming for. And most of us already have a TV. So that's what you're coming for. So I should have found out at the start. So in terms of the pros, so like I said, well-built device that does exactly what you expect to do. I'm happy with the remote. It's a decent sized remote. I know there's been a bit of a movement in recent years to go with smaller remotes, that are kind of more slimlined and maybe use touch pads and things like that. Fancy, but not functional. Something nice and big that fits in your hand. You don't lose down the crack of every single part of the couch constantly. It's easy to find. It's actually got a Find My Remote function as well. So if you actually say Find My Remote with the speaker, this will start beeping. So you can actually find it as well, which is just a neat little feature. So they've done a really good job with the remote there as well. Getting started with the device was actually pretty straightforward. You just kind of, basically just a couple of questions and then you're just logging into all the various apps that you may own and then it just kind of puts it all into the UI and that's that. It took a bit of time only because there's a lot of apps to go through and you got to remember your passwords and you got to push in your emails by basically just going through that horrible keyboard. So that took time, but the actual process itself was really straightforward. I think that any modern day human being in Australia is going to have no trouble seeing this. You do not need to be a tech head. You just need to be able to plug your HDMI cable into the back of your TV and know your login and password to the apps that you want to watch and you're going to be there. So that's pretty good. Now in terms of the UI, which you can see right here on the screen right now, I also quite like it. I mean, it's not revolutionary. This kind of rail thing is what we see across most of the apps right now. But as you can probably see already, you got Netflix, you got Disney, you got Binge, you got Apple, you got SBS. This is where the free TV stuff comes into play. You got Binge, you got 10 Play, 9 Now, ABC. Now you might not have all these apps. The free to air apps you probably do because they're free. And that's just not Channel 7. That's all the other various digital channels as well. So they're all integrated into the UI itself. Voice recognition works really quite well. I tested for you. Tom Cruise. And even with my Australian bogan accent, it's had no problems picking up almost everything I've said. Now there is a bit of a con to that. I'll go into that a bit later in terms of the way that they use metadata for their keywords as opposed to kind of an AI. But as you can see, that's brought up a Tom Cruise like hub page. So anything like the big sports, the big name actors, the big name series, Game of Thrones, that kind of thing, they're going to have like a hub page that's brought out. Otherwise, if you're just searching for something like, I don't know, let's just try Law and Order. It's just going to bring up like search results that aren't on a hub page specifically, but as you can see, there's 7+. You've got YouTube results are going to be integrated into there as well. It's got 9 Now I can see there. It's got Binge as well. So all the different places that you can kind of pick up Law and Order. So I found the UI to be more or less pretty good. Now you've got the live TV integration, which I'll get to down here, so you can see here. So this again is really cool. So this is kind of like a throwback almost. So here you can literally just go between each of the channels that are live right now, and it's going to tell you what's on now, what's on next. And then you've got SBS, then you've got Binge, then you've got Lifestyle, then you've got 7, so they're all integrated into each other. And that is really cool. And if we get down the back here, so more actually what I'll do is I'll take you to the actual full EPG. And you can go down to, let's say, sport, for example, and it's got all the KO Sports stuff that's happening live right now. And the various live channels that you can just go straight to. Now, it's obviously all on demand as well, but that's that kind of integration of the live TV and the on-demand TV that is definitely one of the pros of Hubbl, right? And like I said, this is what it's trying to do. And then what I'm going to go through when I talk about the cons of the device, where it's not quite meeting that potential that you can see right now, because if you're seeing what I'm seeing, you're seeing potential for something really quite cool. Continue watching will come up from anything that you've watched, and yeah, various basically, it doesn't force anything specifically on you. It's not like trying to just solely push you binge. Like you can see, binge is the 4th one here on this movie favorites rail. It's positioning Apple, Prime and Disney first, which aren't even Netflix, which has actually got on the remote, which has actually got a sign for it. So the UI I think is pretty positive, and if it flashes to a screensaver anytime during this video, you'll see it pop up with like the hero wallpapers of some of the shows that are on. And when you get to say trending, for example, which is up here, you know, that's the hottest and coolest stuff that's happening right now. It's across all of the various channels, including the free to air. And I think that's a big pro, because as someone who's, you know, I'm 44, internet generation kid, I didn't even watch free to air for well over a decade, basically, coming close to 2 decades. But there's good stuff on there. And, you know, especially on places like SBS and ABC, there's some really, really good stuff. And I've already started rediscovering stuff through those free-to-air channels that I basically just didn't even know was happening, because I never go to a free-to-air app unless it's got some sport that's only available on free-to-air. So another one of the big pros, obviously, is the bundle and save option, which you can see here with some subscriptions. Now, it's not going to come up that well for me because I'm just using a couple of press accounts right now, so they're zero fees, so they're not showing up as saving money. But this will show you basically what the idea is here. So you've got these 3 subscriptions, Flash, Binge, KO, they're all Hubbl owned apps. And then I can also add in Netflix and Lifestyle, and if I've got up to 5 apps, I can get, so you can see there, $15 credit, $10 credit for 4 apps, and 3 apps, $5 credit. And it just shows you all that right there in the interface. And this is really, really cool. I think this is potentially the most powerful part of this entire service. But unfortunately, like a lot of what we're seeing with this Hubbl at this kind of state in its life, in its launch period, is that it does not quite reach its full potential. And I'll explain why when I go into the cons. But still, very basically, if you've got KO and Binge and Netflix, then you're going to get $5 off your total bill. If you want to add in Lifestyle or Flash, you'll get more. They've got Disney as an app that you can add to this as a subscription that's managed through Hubbl, but it doesn't actually connect to the save and bundle. So it just shows you over here what your full price is that you're paying for with your streaming apps, which is really, really handy, right? So you can, I mean, we've all got God knows how many streaming apps each, and do you know what you're actually paying per month? I don't. I've never looked at tallying it up. And this is going to actually visualize that for you. And in this, you can turn them off and on. So you can just go, I don't need Netflix for the next few months, just turn it off and it'll come off your bill and you won't pay. Now, the potential negative that you might be thinking about is you have to have it billed through Hubbl in order for this to happen. But Hubbl will take care of the migration. So you just request that you want Disney through this, you just request that you want Netflix through Hubbl, and Hubbl will then do the transfer, at which point you'll just keep paying for like you normally do, but the bill will go through Hubbl. And then Hubbl will be able to, because that allows Hubbl to then take $5 off. If it's going through Netflix or through Disney directly, they can't take the discount off. And that's the point, right? Other than that, nothing changes. So that's pretty good. So I think this has got a lot of potential for people, and especially the idea of just being able to turn Netflix on or off, or other apps when you don't need them, I think has a potential to save people a lot of money. And I hope that they go further on this, as I'll get to in my cons. Other than that, 2 other pros I just wanted to bring up is that each of the apps that you're kind of going into, if I just go into, say, let's say Disney, which that's done that before, it says subscribe, but I've already got it logged in. So I don't know why it's doing that, but I think it's because it's literally opening the app as it is, as an app. It's not integrated necessarily into Hubbl. Hubbl is just a window into the app. So when you open it up, it's just opening up the app. And that's kind of like, it provides that little bit of a barrier there where it's just not a seamless transition into the app, which would be nice and cool, but it also means that Hubbl's not affecting the actual experience. You're getting this as you'd get it on any other device. And then it's just like you're in the app. Same again, if I just go into, say, Netflix, it's just going to open up Netflix the app, not Netflix the Hubbl version of the app. So I think that's really quite cool. The other thing is as well is that depending on what, so many shows are available on multiple different apps, that, so you can see that's just loaded into it, is that it will show you what the best quality version is. So if you've got, say, Binge and Netflix and a movie is on both Binge and Netflix, but it's only available in 4K on Binge because you don't have the 4K package on Netflix, you can see that. So it will basically feed you the best quality version of the show, which is, again, that's a pro, right? That's a good pro. So anyway, that's all the reasons why Hubbl's cool. Let's go into see some of the reasons why it's not cool. Now, when I talk about the things that Hubbl isn't getting right, a lot of them, potentially most of them, are things that Hubbl could get right in the future. There could be things that are coming there, and there could be things that are in the pipeline. They're mostly software related, right? It's not a hardware issue, it's just whether or not they can do it. Now, one of the big things is you've got the watch list here, and that allows you to basically, well, just a watch list, right? And this is the only place where you can have profiles. So this is a generic profile at the moment, greatest beer run ever. Got to watch that. But you can add multiple profiles here, and you can add things to different watch list profiles. So your wife can have a watch list profile, I can have a watch list profile, the kids can have one, so forth. Your partner, I should say, because I don't know who I'm talking to. Now, the problem is that the profile integration it doesn't work across the apps. So it only really works if you commit yourself fully to Hubbl. And that doesn't just the watch list, but it's also your continue watching down here, right? So what I mean by that is, if you've got things that you've added to your watch list in the individual apps, so you're in Netflix, you've added something to an app, a watch list, you're into Amazon, you've added something to your watch list, right? That's not going to show in here. It's not going to pull that information out. If you've got a particular profile in Amazon and your partner's got a profile in Amazon and you've got completely different things involved in there, none of that's pulling out to here. That's all staying in the app. Okay, and then with the continue watching, if you want to, the continue watching is great, it's coming up, but only if you watch it through Hubbl. If you do, and that includes Netflix and things, so you'll see Netflix down here, I've been watching Vikings, White Lotus on Binge. I was watching the replay of the test earlier. So if you've got that kind of continue watching, it only comes up through Hubbl. So for example, if you switch to watching, in my case, Vikings on my phone when I'm on the bus, or on another TV in an app or something like that, or on my PC, that's not going to show here. So, you know, I left this and I was on episode 3 or whatever, then I watched a couple of episodes elsewhere, I came back, this was still on episode 3. So that type of integration just isn't there. You have to give yourself fully to Hubbl to make the most out of the features on it. And I feel like I don't know how they can even do that, because there's so many third-party partners involved in this, but that's something that the whole ecosystem could really do with. It would be really great if the Disneys and the Amazons of this world fed out that as data that could be used by third parties like Hubbl to be able to basically integrate everything into one experience. It feels like something that should happen and will happen, but it's not happening as it currently stands. So that is, for me, a bit of a con. Now also the UI has a tendency to show you stuff that you do not have access to. Now I brought this up directly with them and said, that's not a great user experience. Users don't want to scroll down here and go, oh, that looks, oh, I can't watch it. Oh, I got to pay more money. Oh, but no one wants to do that, right? They feel like it's an option. It's showing you things that you might want to watch and where you can get them from. And that might be true, but I don't think that's a better experience. So I don't like the fact that it is showing you stuff in the UI that you don't have access to. I think that's not a user-friendly experience, and that's something I'd like to have them cull. And in fact, it talks to the whole entire idea of the customization of this experience, because it's not being customized to the individual using it, it's being customized to the Hubbl, and that's it. So I'd like to be able to go in and say, show me stuff from these apps and don't show me things from these apps, because it's my product and I want to see what I want to see, not what you want to show me. So that should be an option, and I should also be able to go customize it in terms of it being only showing, there should be a profile available to decide what it's going to show me. And I think that's basically because it's not particularly, there's algorithms that are choosing what to show here based on what you have watched. It goes, oh, this dude's entered Netflix 1,000 times, we're going to raise Netflix up, and stuff like that. But it's not, there's no AI involved, and it's not going, oh, Chris has watched this stuff and his wife has watched this stuff, and then positioning it differently based on who's here. And that's obviously something that should happen in this day and age. So the whole customization side of a thing, that's not where it needs to be, that's a con. Now, one of the other big cons, I guess, is the live channel thing, which I'll show you right now, is that it's such an awesome, you want to be able to just flick through it because it's live channels. So here we are on channel 1, and then I flick that, and it's going to show you how long it takes to get to the next channel. Okay, that's a fair wait. Okay, now we're in. Okay, what if I just, so you pretty much got to base it on what you're seeing here and then just wait. Now, oh, that's bizarre. Well, it just worked anyway. To be fair, it's launch day today, so there's going to be some teething issues. You would have seen that watch from start thing, by the way. That's really cool. So because this is on binge, you can just jump straight back to the start of rewind, but you can't do that with the free-to-air stuff. But you can see how sluggish that is, and that's just not up to speed, pun intended, of where we need to be in this day and age. And I don't really know how they're going to fix that, because they're really just trying to, this is kind of a bug in my opinion. So if you want to get, it's really hard to pause it. So I don't want it to show that, but it comes up here with continuing playing, and then there's no way to just pause it. So you've got to go in, find pause. You can't pause that, that's why, because it's free to air. So you can see, this is exactly what I'm talking about. So let's go somewhere where we can actually pause it, because once you start watching something, pause it, and then jump back out to here, this is forced on you, this continue playing thing. And it just keeps playing in the background, which at first is like, it's really cool. I was like, look, it's showing what I was just watching in that little window. How cool. And then I was like, shut up, I don't want to hear it anymore. And you got to go back in and pause it, and you can't pause channel 9 or anything, so you got to go to a different channel. There must be some way of getting rid of it, but I haven't worked it out yet. So anyway, that's the thing about the live channels which isn't working so well, is that delay when you're going to and from. Now, I talked about the manage and save thing before. They absolutely need to get more apps involved in that. So at the moment, it's the 4 Hubbl apps, then you get Netflix. What about everything else? Like if they're going to do bundle and save, they need to get another 5, 6, 7, 8 partners involved. I want to see you being able to choose your 5 from a bunch of 10, right? That's going to actually hit the nail for most people, because, okay, there's a lot of people that have KO and probably not anything else, and maybe Netflix. There's a lot of people that might have binge and maybe not KO. There's a few people that have both binge and KO. Very few people are going to have flash, and very few people, well, more people might start having lifestyle. But like, you can see what I mean. It's not really hitting across the broader apps that most people have. Most people are going to have Disney. Most people are going to have Netflix. Most people are going to have Prime because of the shopping bonuses. So that's where I think it needs to improve. It needs to have more apps in there. And then not only that, it needs to have all the apps available to be shown in that list, because that is the big thing I think for consumers in Australia, is being able to see in that list of managed subscriptions everything that you have. And at the moment, it's only letting you add things that it wants you, or it's got a pass to. But why can't I customize it? Why can't I just say, I'm also paying for this, put it in there, I'm also paying for this, put it in there, I'm also paying for this, put it in there, even if they can't migrate it at this point, just so I can see what my total bill is and make a judgment call on what I actually want and what I actually don't want. So that is somewhere where I think, is that a con? It's not trying to do that, I guess, but it's a con in that this is the potential that it can reach, and it needs to aim high, and it should try and reach that potential. So that's why I'm disappointed, because it hasn't hit that at launch. Elsewhere in the cons, I'm a bit surprised it's only pumping out at 60p, like it's only 60 Hertz, this thing. And it's particularly disappointing with the Hubbl glass, but again, I'll do a separate review on this, but 60 Hertz is below spec nowadays. And I think if they're gonna get into cloud gaming, which they're talking about doing, that's gonna be particularly show that up. I'm also a bit worried about the fact that this isn't Android, at least they're not saying whether it's Android or not. It's called they got a name for it, just Entertainment OS or something. So it's some sort of bespoke operating system that's a Hubbl operating system, which means that we might see a delay here in terms of the way that the apps are updated. So when apps drop, when these guys drop new updates on iOS and Android, is this going to be there at the same time? Or is it another operating system that they've got to try and optimize their apps for? So I'm a little bit concerned for that, but that hasn't happened yet. So it's not necessarily a negative, but it's something to watch out for. But one of the things they have done is, you see, I showed you before, when you jump into the apps, they're like just opening up the apps, but it's not when you jump into the Hubbl owned apps. As you can see here, KO is opening up in the Hubbl kind of, it's Hubbl up there, right? And it's not opening up in just the app. And as a result, a lot of these things are nerfed. So it's most effective in KO, most dramatic in KO, like binge, you kind of just watch like you watch a normal app, but KO's got all these extra features in it. Key moments is something that I personally use a lot of the time. You're always scrolling through like 9 hours of surfing or 9 hours of cricket or something like that. The scrolling speed's a lot slower in this. You can't just jump to key moments. You can't split it up 4 ways and watch 4 different channels at the same time. Kind of those features that the apps offer and other services aren't in the apps here. Now, I did bring this up with them, and they did tell me that it was in the roadmap, and that these types of things were going to come. In my opinion, they just should have just launched the normal app until they had those things ready. And one thing that I did pick up on, if you've been looking at my channel, looking at some other stuff I've done around Hubbl, is that I noticed when I first got it, that when I was trying to watch on-demand programs of things like NRL 360, I'm an NRL Tragic, and let's see if I can find it here. So NRL 360, right? So when I was watching this the other day through Hubbl, and I was bringing up these kind of on-demand shows that I'd missed, it was doing forced ads. So basically, even if I tried to fast forward to an ad break, it was making me not fast forward to an ad break, and it was making me watch I remember one of them was 2.5 minutes of ads before I could watch the rest of the on-demand show, which infuriated me. It's a $35 a month subscription. Why? It's not in any of the other apps. You can just watch on-demand content. Now, interestingly, when I sat down here just before I did this, I actually went, I'm going to just check that and see if I can find other examples on binge and things like that, and I couldn't find any. Then I went back to NRL 360 and it's gone. It's not doing it now. So it was something that was available when I got the product. It was something that they had implemented, and they've obviously pulled it out prior to launch. Now, I'm wondering if that's because myself and other media had gone, what the hell, why are you doing this? People are going to be really upset. Or whether it's just they found a bug with it and it's going to come later on. Because it was quite impactful for me. It basically meant I didn't use it, because I was like, I don't want that. And so I just went back to my Fire Stick and was watching that, because that's where I could get the better KO experience with all the features, and with also no ads, no forced ads. I could just go through any ads I wanted to. So I don't know if it's something that they're going to implement across all apps in the future, then implement it here. I don't think it's going to suddenly pop back up again. But in the interim, if you want to get Hubbl and KO as your main app, the one that you may want to use, then you're going to find it as a bit of a nerfed experience, which is a shame, because the integration of it's really, really cool. And I'll show you what I mean. If we just go Formula One, the fact that the UI, well, that's actually searching within KO. No, it's not. That's searched, yeah, because it's within a Hubbl interface. But here, so you got the KO, you got YouTube. If you do stuff like Rugby League, for example, it's got all the Channel 9 stuff in it, everything up there. Like, that integration is really, really cool. but the lack of the features and potentially forced ads kind of nerfs it. So that's just another con to think about. So what are my final thoughts then on the Hubbl Puck TV experience? I really want to like it. I can see what they're trying to do here, and I can see the framework they're building and the foundations they're building to get there. And I think it's a valuable experience. It's definitely worth the 99 bucks to get in there and have this kind of integration of live TV and sport and all the on-demand apps in there, and to be able to save money in the process and be able to see your entire bill of all your streaming apps in one place, and just executing this vast array of content through one UI. The way that they're going about it is a point of difference, and it is cool. But so much of it is still potential more than actually realised. It's like it could be or it will be, but it's not quite at the moment. And that's not me saying you shouldn't jump in now, because it's still worth jumping in now at that price point, absolutely. But I can't dive into it with my full enthusiasm, because it's just not, this is a little bit sluggish. It needs to be faster, there needs to be more apps bundled, there needs to be more customization, there needs to be better integration of the profiles and the user experience between the apps and the Hubbl interface. So all of that kind of needs to come together for it to be just a must-own. And you know, for someone like you who might already have an Apple TV 4K or might have a Fire Stick or something like that. But as it kind of stands right now, at that price point, and as you can see from what I've shown you so far, it's still definitely worth jumping into, I think. Anyway, that's my, or as it turned out to be, a reasonably exhaustive review of Hubbl, the streaming TV app that's come out of the team behind Foxtel and the team behind KO and Binge and so forth. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you check out my other videos. I'm Chris Stead, and until next time, check you later. You!